Hey, Dino Gomez. Thanks for joining the Healthcare Digital Marketing Podcast. I'm super excited to have you on today. And before we jump into it, just want to, set the stage, give the audience insights on how we met and how I found you online. You're big time online, man. I hope you know that. So essentially, I think it was like 3 to 4 years ago, I found your podcast, the SEO Six Figure Agency. And I think you interviewed Gregory Ortiz and then also Ryan Stewart. And for me in my career, I've been in the SEO industry for a long time. And so I think for 10 years, I was exclusively SEO. And a lot of my clients were started to ask, how do I get customers faster? and you, like we both know, SEO takes some time. And so I started searching Facebook advertisement. I had no clue how to manage Facebook ads. So essentially your name kind of resurfaced. I jumped into your course, flew out to San Diego. It was amazing. Probably the best, met your lovely wife, probably the best event I've ever been to. So much value, so much energy, so much knowledge. And I was able to take that information and add Facebook ad placement services in my agency. And it only started there. So that was amazing. And you're online everywhere. I mean, I know you have agency, you're in Facebook groups, you have YouTube videos that you produce a lot. So you're everywhere, man. I just want to say thank you for, all the things that you're doing online and for the community, and just appreciate everything you're doing for us. So I would love for you to open up and just kind of introduce yourself and give some background as well.
Yeah, well, first off, Lamar, thanks so much for having me. It's a blast to be here, and I love catching up and hanging out with you. You're an incredible marketer and agency owner yourself. Yeah, to give everybody a little bit of background, my name is Dino Gomez. I left my 9-to-5 job about 9 years ago. I was 23 years old and just out of college, hired at a direct response marketing firm, and quickly within 6 months, I was like, I'm out of here. I kind of was just a different personality. I wanted to do things a certain way and felt like I had a pretty good grasp on things. And so, yeah, for the last 9 years, I've run a digital marketing agency. And also we kind of got started specifically in the SEO space. That was kind of our area of expertise. We'll get you to the top of Google. Right. And then about 4 years ago, I was on Facebook and these advertisements popped up and I was like, that is new. I haven't seen that before.
Right.
That is cool. And even then at the time, we all know how so to speak, creepy, powerful Facebook ads are, the way they can, they whatever you're researching, that exact ad pops up. But that kind of happened to me with the first round of Facebook ads. And I was like, I was just talking about that. Here's an ad for it. That's amazing. I was like, how do I do that? Right. And so I hopped over to YouTube immediately and I was like, let me do some research on Facebook ads and let's watch some videos, right? Because there's no formal.
You went to YouTube before Facebook?
What's that?
You went to YouTube before Facebook?
Yeah. I went right over to YouTube. I was like, I want to learn how to run these ads. And it was interesting though, because as we both know, right, there's no formal education for digital marketing.
Right.
Universities are just starting to kind of catch on that they should be teaching this as part of the curriculum.
Right.
And so I went to YouTube to go do some research on how can I learn how to run these advertisements. And there were no videos on YouTube because Facebook ads were just that brand new.
Right.
And so I essentially basically was like, okay, well then, I'm going to go to Facebook and click around and figure out where I go to sign up and try this out. And so, yeah, kind of just had to figure it out on my own because, again, no formal training, not even free videos on YouTube to teach you anything. And so I just dove right into it. And we had a bunch of SEO clients, our agency did. And so it's pretty simple. I just reached out to them and I said, hey, I think we can bring you a lot of customers really fast and inexpensively with this new advertising platform. Do you want to try it out? And first client said, yeah, let's try it out. And so we did so, and their business doubled.
Wow.
Their revenue doubled in the course of the first 7 days with us running Facebook ads.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. And from there, I'm like, all right, this is something. And so that's kind of how I got into Facebook ads.
So I guess for you, how hard, let's take it back a step. How hard was it for you to leave that 9 to 5 and transition into the entrepreneurial world?
Great question. So it's a tough to answer. There's kind of two parts to it, right? Like, so it was an easy decision for me to leave my 9 to 5
Okay.
because the decision the perspective I decided to take was this. I was like, I asked myself, I did a best case, worst case scenario. I was like, Dino, worst case scenario, you think you can make it on your own,
Right.
your own agency. I was like, and we're actually in the mid, just kind of 2010, like in the middle, like just past the recession. So
Right.
people thought I was crazy to do this. They're like, you're
Right.
lucky to have a job out of college to begin
Right.
with. But I said I did best worst case scenario. Okay, worst case scenario, it doesn't work out, and I go find another job.
Right.
Best case scenario, it does work out, and I'm, kind of living my passion, doing something I love, and running a business of my dreams. So I was like, that's a pretty easy decision to make there. So that got me past going for it.
Yeah.
But then it gets real, right?
Yep.
Then, as all entrepreneurs, regardless of your industry or niche, medical profession or marketer and so forth, then it gets real, especially the first couple of years. Steep learning curve,
Right.
A lot of hours, a lot of weekends sacrificed,
Yep.
Friendships kind of sacrificed, so to speak, social life, I should say, all those types of things. And so, it's a grind to get things off the ground.
Yeah, for sure. And I can align with that as well because I'm still working those crazy hours. I'm still, thinking about the next steps. And I guess for you, when it comes to your career, what's one thing that when you look back, you wish you would have had more insights on or had more opportunities with before moving forward in your career?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I wish I would have known sooner the importance of investing in a mentor. Because for me, I started at 23 on my own, so I'm full of energy, and I got this, I'll figure it out kind of mentality, and work long hours, grind through it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't invest in a mentor for like the first 3 years that I was running my own business.
Okay.
Which was in hindsight, massive mistake. Because
quick question to that: was it because you didn't know to do that, or was it the cost issue? Just curious, because I still don't have a true mentor. Mm-hmm. So I'm just curious at what point were you like, okay, I need to make this decision?
Yeah, so it wasn't a cost issue as much as I think it was a mindset issue in hindsight.
Okay.
Because at the time, the first thing I did was invest in a program, and the program was, I think, $500 or $1,000. But what I discovered in that program, my return on investment was massive and very instant.
Okay.
And from that point forward, I've always continually invested. And so I don't think it was the cost because I had the funds to do so. I think it was more the mindset of, is it worth spending money to shortcut the learning curve?
Gotcha.
And how much, would it be worth it type of thing? So yeah, it's interesting to look at. And then hindsight now, 10 years later,
right.
I will do that all day long. Like, particularly my wife and I, besides traveling, we live pretty frugally because the compound return on investing in knowledge at this point in our career, it's just, it's interesting. I'll just say this, right? I think almost all entrepreneurs make the mistake of looking at return on investment from knowledge in terms of what return on investment will I get in the next like 2 to 3 months.
Yeah. Yep.
And they kind of think about that, even from a marketing standpoint. From a knowledge standpoint, it's really interesting because if you think about it, like you're in your early 40s.
Oh man, you're pushing
30s?
35.
35. I'm sorry.
I guess the mustache may throw you off a little bit.
So you're still super young, right? Like we're basically the same age. And so we still have this huge career in front of us.
Right.
Right. And so people look at investing in knowledge in terms of, okay, what return am I going to get in the next 2 to 3 months? Well,
Yeah.
if we invest to learn something now, we're going to have that with us probably for another 30 years, hopefully.
Right.
And so the return on investment, like we might, like, let's just say we sharpen our skills. We invest in learning sales from somebody who's really good. We get really good at sales now at age 35. We have
Right.
30 years more in our career where we're going to be a sales stud.
Yep.
That's going to compound to probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, learning that skill set now rather than later.
Right.
So it's that compound return of learning things as soon as you can. And that's what, that's what I wish I would have known much, much sooner.
So I guess to have a follow-up question based on having a mentor, because for me, and I know a lot of my friends who think about mentorship, we all invest in courses and, opportunities that'll help us kind of fast track or skip steps into our growth. But did you ever invest in like a mentor who pretty much sits with you, or you're having quarterly calls with? Was it like a person, or was it more just the resources of information that you were able to find online?
That's a great question. So it started out as like programs and courses.
Okay.
And then once I saw great growth and so forth, momentum from the first program. Then I started looking for people in the industry that, in a roundabout way, I knew that they had results that I wanted to have.
Gotcha.
Now, they might not have been a coach or a mentor, but you can kind of just tell from social media and whatnot and what people are kind of up to. And so I would start reaching out to these guys, and I would just say, hey man, congrats on all your success. I see you're landing a bunch of clients, or you're getting these amazing results with this. How much for an hour of your time to teach me that? And most of these guys would be like, well, I'm not a coach. I've run an agency. And I go, no, I completely understand that. So, but like, would you be willing to show me what's working for you guys? If I paid you an hourly rate. And, the first guy thought about it, and he goes, yeah, sure. It would, a couple $100 or $100. And I was like, great, here, where do I PayPal the money? And so I did that. And it was really interesting. Just a couple hours of one of these guys' time, and they'll show you something that can flip your world upside down. And so then I would take that and be like, awesome. And we'd try it out in our agency, and it would work. And I'd be like, wow, that was, something I would have never stumbled across type of thing. So I've done that route where as often as possible, I try and snag people 1v1.
That's awesome.
And just go lay it on me. And so I've done that several times. And then more recently, what I've been doing is joining masterminds.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome. Yeah, and I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that experience and you being able to connect with leaders or professionals who you thought that could help your career. I think when I look at your, what you offer online as well, and the resources, you're very willing to give that information and share that information. So I think when I look at that in hindsight too, it's like you're getting help to progress, your skill set and your insights and your information, and then now you're giving that to other people. Would you say that is aligned with kind of why you do the things that you do now, from adding value to others?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think because knowledge and mentorship has had such a profound impact for me, and then at some point in my career, I had people asking me, hey, how are you growing your agency or getting these results or doing these things? Can you coach me? And that's the first time that ever popped into my head, because I was used to going to people and asking them, hey, can you coach me? Right. So at some point, people started asking me that, and then I said, sure. And then I realized, I should probably put together a coaching program, and so then kind of went that direction as well.
Gotcha. So let's pivot a little bit. So when you think about your career, what, I know you've had a lot of success, but what's your biggest failure, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah. So gosh, biggest failure is probably that we had a really large multi-location franchise that we were working with, and it was a 5-figure a month contract, and all of a sudden one day they decided they wanted to bring it in-house, their marketing. And so That was kind of a big failure to all of a sudden lose basically multiple six figures of income, annual income.
Right.
With a phone call, I was like, um, what do we do at this point, type of thing. And so that was kind of something that, there's been plenty of moments like that where, we've always provided great results to our clients,
Right.
but there's always scenarios too where the relationship just is no longer a fit. Sometimes for us, we're like, you know what, we've kind of outgrown this client.
Right.
Sometimes for the client, things, they prefer to bring the marketing in-house all of a sudden, or their director of marketing changes over, and that director of marketing has relationships with another agency. And
Right.
so there's all these reasons why, the client marketing relationship will stop. So over time, you kind of get used to that happening, so to speak, here and there. And so that was kind of a big struggle, losing that contract. I remember thinking, what am I going to do at this point when we lost like that, our biggest client in that regard. So that was kind of a mistake. I think there's things we could have done to prepare ourselves to not be as reliant upon just this one big client. And so I'd say that was kind of a mistake that we learned from.
Gotcha. Yeah. That hit my core so much because when I started my agency 5 years ago, I had one client that was 50% of the revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And so pretty much we bent over backwards for them. We did everything. I even sat in their office personally, my time in their office 2 days out of the week.
Wow.
So,
Yep.
But I will say, to your point, what I did a really good job at was making sure that we were still getting new clients in the pipeline. So if that client ever left, yes, it would set us back, maybe a few months, but we were able to survive. And yeah, just like your situation, that client left after 2 years, and we were thriving probably more so than, just with that one client. They had multiple locations. There were, I think, 30 locations by the time the contract ended. And we have a radius restriction, so we can only take on, because we're medical specific, so we can only take on one doctor per a certain radius. And so that really limited our client acquisition funnel based on having that type of client. So when they left, the floodgates open. So it was like actually a win for us. But yeah, to your point, it was very scary. It was a big turning point in the agency, but it was for the best for sure.
Isn't that funny the way that works? It turns out to be a blessing in disguise quite often. And regardless of it, if you're a doctor or practitioner listening in, there's going to be things that happen as an entrepreneur where you think this is the end or this is horrible. And you kind of come to learn over time, you get less affected by bumps in the road. You just go, this is probably, or you just know that it's going to open up opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a great point and a segue to anyone trying to be in the digital marketing industry or an entrepreneur in this space. What would be the biggest advice that you would provide to them?
Biggest advice. Again, I feel like I've kind of like said this. I don't want to be like redundant, but honestly, as quickly as possible, learn from somebody who's where you want to be. It's just, I can't say that enough. I don't know why that is such a big one for me, or hits home so much for me, but it's amazing. It's a combination of who you're going to know through them. Some of the things I would say is also go out of your way to help just offer your time and your services.
That's good.
To somebody you want to learn from. And that's I think a really, really, really big one. Is I stumbled upon this thing where back when I was doing SEO, there was this one guy who was, providing like a SEO link service.
Okay.
And I was really impressed with his service. He was like, it was getting results for us and for our clients. Okay. And he was kind of newer to the scene and kind of under the radar. And I took time out of my day unsolicited to shoot him a testimonial video and just say, hey, I really recommend this guy and his services. because they've incredible customer support and fast turnaround times and quality work and all this stuff. I just gave that to this guy. And at the time, this guy, again, isn't really well known at all. He just had this pop-up service I was trying out. Well, fast forward 4 or 5 years later, and he's one of the biggest names in the industry.
That's crazy.
We developed a friendship before he took off.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of just that paying it forward thing as much as you can. The internet's a small place, so the community is small, and so you want to treat everybody well. Type of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I would also add to that the experience piece, like getting the experience. Getting your hands dirty. There's a lot of things that a lot of agency owners don't know, right? They're offering a million services. But you can't do a lot of things well. You try to do them as best as you can. But I look back at my experiences when it comes to SEO. So I started with a marketing agency where I was just an SEO specialist, and I ended up transitioning and being promoted to an SEO manager. And during that time frame, I learned the technical skill set, and then I learned how to manage people during that process as well. But then I knew to be really good at SEO, I had to be able to analyze the data. And I was at the cap with this company. So I ended up transitioning to another agency where I was an SEO analyst. So I got to dig into the data and really analyze metrics and KPIs and all that good stuff based on being executed. Yeah. And then, so after that, I was like, well, I need to be able to manage clients. So I went to a marketing agency where I was an SEO account manager. And just when I look back in hindsight of that experience, and all the great people that I was connected with and worked with, like, man, I just tell you, like, if I didn't have that experience, I probably would have never started an SEO agency. So to your point, yeah, you definitely got to, pay it forward. You have to connect with people who are leaders in that space, but then that experience, getting your hands dirty is so valuable as well. With you, I guess also, as it comes to inspiration, what books or what podcasts or what are you listening to that can continue to help you be successful?
Yeah. So I'll give this one away. I call this my secret weapon.
Okay.
His name is actually Alex Hormozi.
Hormozi, you said?
Alex Hormozi.
Hormozi. Okay.
Yeah, he owns a company called Gym Launch. And they've, in the first 2 years, they went 0 to 50 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
writing his name down, by the way.
Yeah. he's got a podcast, and he's particularly right. What they do is they're basically like they're a coaching firm for brick and mortar gyms, CrossFits, all those types of facilities. And so they've grown to 0 to 50 million because they're able to help gyms explode like overnight. Now, I listen to his podcast because we have fitness clients, but also because what he's foundationally teaching, his methodologies apply to almost any brick and mortar business, medical, dental, anything.
Okay.
And so his philosophies and strategies of what he's used to not only grow his business, but his clients' businesses, I learn a lot from his mindset and kind of like the way he looks at numbers and offers and different things. Okay. So yeah, almost every day when I work out, that's what I'm listening to in my headphones. I'm listening to his podcast for part of my workout, and then I definitely need some type of pump up music to make it through. Nice. But yeah, that I listen to him a lot, and then I hop around from all different books, just depending on where I feel like I need to get sharper type of thing.
Yeah. So speaking of books, so I think you posted on Facebook, it had to be a few months back, but it was a book called The Emotional Code, and I ended up buying it. But have you had a chance to read it? Just curious.
You know what? I haven't. It's sitting like right behind me on the ground right here with a stack of like 12 others that I want. And yeah, I guess the ADD has been kicking in because I'm in the middle of reading 2 different books right now. I should probably just finish one and move to the next, but I'm switching off between the 2. But I haven't read it yet. I'm excited to because I've heard great things.
Nice. So when it comes to, Alex has been an influence in your life. if you could name two more people who you know, has made an impact on your life, and who would those people be and why?
Yeah, well, I would definitely say, well, personally, I would definitely say my wife, and then, my parents as well. And,
Awesome.
I think a lot of people would say that, but from a personal standpoint, but, they really do shape kind of morals, values, ethics, work ethic, those types of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wasn't sure if you were referring to business wise or otherwise personal, but
Whoever, I guess whoever's had the most impact, that I think that fits the answer for sure. And you're from Southern California, is that correct?
yep. Yeah. San Diego, California. And yeah, I mean, born in Phoenix, but I've lived out here since a pretty young age.
Nice, nice. And so we go back to that conversation of switching from, so are you doing any SEO now, or is it mainly Facebook ads?
We still have legacy SEO clients that have
Okay.
been with us like 4+ years.
Okay.
But we don't offer SEO anymore. It doesn't get me as excited as it used to. It's still a very, very valuable service, very valuable service. But it's just not in our wheelhouse now. We kind of became more known as Facebook advertisers, and so it's made it easier for us to scale, just kind of focusing on this thing here. And so yeah, strictly Facebook ads is what our agency is doing. We're starting to dabble and play with YouTube ads more.
Nice.
But yeah, kind of we're kind of fans of the paid traffic right now.
Nice. So speaking of Facebook ads, so you dominated the SEO industry. Now you're dominating the Facebook ads industry as well. So a lot of the listeners on this podcast are going to be, healthcare marketers or doctors or medical practices and so forth. What would you advise them on in terms of Facebook ads, in terms of gaining new patients or new leads?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're an actual medical facility, I think that there's a couple things that I think are highly kind of highly overlooked. The first, all right, is running Facebook ads to build basically like good brand exposure. So what do I mean by that? Essentially, like you can, like, if I'm a local dentist, for example, and in a city, smaller town, right? If our local football team wins a game that night, I'm going to put $5, $10 behind a Facebook ad that says, "Congratulations to Torrey High School for winning 21-0 against so-and-so," with a photo from the game, right?
Right.
Blast that out to the entire community. What is that going to do? I'm not making a pitch, right, or anything like that. I'm just saying congratulations. And the entire town and community is going to get a comment on that. "Oh my gosh, we crushed them. Da, 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 da. That was amazing." All these things, right? And they're going to say, "Who's running this ad, right? Who's this?" It's the dental office, right? They're going to be like, "That is a cool dentist."
Yes.
Right? Like I want to go to them. They're supporting our local community. Like that is so simple and small. There's no secret strategy to it or anything, but it's literally like, again, that pay it forward thing. You do something cool like that, people remember you. And that's how you become memorable, right? It's really hard to become a memorable dentist. You can be a great dentist, but there's just, the average person doesn't walk around thinking like, "That's a great dentist." Like that, it's not like they're really, really good, right? Like we appreciate it when you are good, but it's just not, it's not one of those things. So right, with advertising, it's more about, that's kind of a branding move. So I think that's a great one. And then the other one is actually like, the physician, doctor, dentist, grabbing their iPhone, right, and just shooting videos while walking around and talking about when they're in the office and talking about their services, introducing themselves, and actually introducing the offer. And because one of the things that does make it more difficult for advertising agencies or marketers is coming up with that creative, like put together a Facebook ad. What images are we going to use? Do we have any videos, or do we have to resort to using like stock videos? And nobody likes those per se, right? So, can the doctor professional get more involved with shooting a video and, showing their patient here, something like that, just a quick little video, come on in, and the patient's comfortable in the seat, but really bringing us into their office so it it just feels more natural, less like an ad. You get to kind of see and hear that person and build that trust, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, that's mind blowing, And the reason why I say is because every dental ad that you see on Facebook is, $99 off, such and such, or, this treatment, or some kind of promotion behind it. And you hardly ever see what you just spoke about, like them, really relating to the community in a timely fashion to drive brand awareness. And I think that's mind blowing because now it's making me think about my Facebook ad strategy. And then also this is what we find with doctors as well. Like, most people are busy, right? They're busy running their business. They're managing their teams and, handling patients and clients. A lot of them are very shy, or they just don't want to get on camera, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's so important, based on what you just said as well, is it could just be a short video, engaging with them, inviting them into your space. Because if you want new patients, right, they want to see where they're going, and especially with coronavirus going on, right? Like,
Yep.
Having that message, hey, we're protecting our patients, we're protecting our staff, and showcasing that through a short video, I think is so powerful. So yeah, you're exactly right, man.
It's so interesting you said that with Corona, because the coolest thing happened. So my wife goes to this dance studio, and they obviously have had to shut down because of COVID. And recently they, businesses in San Diego are allowed to be open. So they open back up. They only can have certain capacity and certain things like that. They hired a professional videographer to come through their studio and film, people in the studio working out and doing dancing, right? And with space in between them and them cleaning and their procedures. They have some special humidifier in the building now, but they sent that out to all of their current clients and everybody.
Nice.
And said, hey, like, this is what we're doing. And those little things like that, right? You're completely right. They make a difference.
Yeah, that's awesome. So talking about Facebook ads again, when it comes to medical practice or any type of business, what do you see as some of the more favorable offers that really connect, that can really generate leads?
So in this space, some great direct offers. What we're seeing right now are basically any digital simulation offers. So in other words, for Invisalign, get a digital teeth, a digital teeth. What do they call them? Print. It's kind of like a simulation where you can see what your teeth would look like once they're straightened.
Right.
But that works for body contouring as well, or weight loss, or surgical procedures as well. But these facilities, they can literally Google search digital simulation machines, and what they will find, digital teeth simulation, digital weight loss simulation. There's even, they go so far as digital hair simulation if you're doing wigs and stuff. But there's these softwares out there that these medical practices can, pay for, and it's anywhere from like $100 to a couple $100 per month.
Yeah.
But that's such a powerful lead magnet, is for somebody to actually physically see how they would look differently,
right,
for one of those services. And so offering them, hey, we'll give you a free digital simulation on how your teeth will look once we fix them from being all crooked or something. Right. And then people go, wow, I look so much different and so much better, or whatever it is. They're kind of pre-sold on the services at that point. So we're seeing that as a great kind of direct response offer right now.
Gotcha. That's awesome. I think to your point, it really connects with their pain, right? Like they have some type of pain point, and that almost allows them to touch it, but virtually. And so they're able to connect in a way that you can't connect with just an image, right? Like it's just an image of, so let's say it's Invisalign, it's just a Invisalign image. They can connect with it, but it's just a different level of connection with your kind of simulation that you're referring to.
Absolutely.
I guess the last question for you would be, so there's all types of Facebook ad marketers out there. What are like the true KPIs that, a doctor or medical practice or any type of Facebook ad campaign should be kind of managing and watching over?
Yeah, so this is a big one because there's a kind of a lot of components to it. So first off, I think a lot of people pay attention to the wrong metrics. I think they're looking at cost per 1,000 impressions. They're looking at cost per click, cost per landing page view. A lot of them are looking at cost per lead.
Yeah.
Cost per lead is closer to what we should be looking at overall. But from what you really want to be looking at is cost per acquisition.
Gotcha.
Cost per acquisition, and before that becomes an important number, right? These medical facilities, they need to understand lifetime value of a customer.
Yep.
And they need to understand as well, like how much, not just lifetime value of a single customer, but like what percentage of clients refer new patients.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's missed. Like you acquire one patient and you think, okay, they're worth $3,000 to me over the next 10 years. Well, what are the chances to half of your patients bring in a friend? Really? So, because if that's the case, then when you acquire 2 clients, you're actually acquiring 3.
Yeah.
Because one of the 2 is going to bring in a friend. And so you have to have all those numbers dialed in to kind of correctly compute the value of the services. So I think the most important KPIs are cost per lead and cost per acquisition. Nice. And the third one being lifetime value of a customer. So and actually having those numbers be accurate, that's the tricky part. But I think those are the 3 most important.
That's awesome. Appreciate those insights. And Dino, so how can people connect with you? How can they, find you? What are some ways that people want to get you, hire you as a coach? What are those ways that they can connect with you online?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Lamar. You can Google search Dino Gomez, and I have several websites. I should probably consolidate them into one, but you can go, my coaching website is dinomgomez.com. So you can head on over there. You can look me up on Facebook. You can also look up Funnel Consultant Society if you want Facebook ad training. And yeah, those are probably the best spots.
Awesome. Well, Dino, I appreciate your time. Thanks for jumping on the Healthcare Digital Marketing Podcast. I'm Lamar with MedRank Interactive. If you're looking to learn Facebook ads management, you got to find this guy. He's amazing. Hope this podcast was valuable and provided a lot of insights to you doctors or medical practitioners or marketers out there. Thanks again, Dino. We'll include all your contact information in the description. We'll see you guys on the next episode.